Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Oscar Buzz. Trevor here, and it's just me today. Everybody else was busy, but we still have Maestro to talk about and Nyad, two potential Netflix contenders coming out of Venice and Telluride, respectively, plus a couple of updates on things from the past couple of days and what their reviews and scores are looking at. Now, you'll see a ticker going along the bottom of the screen. You'll see the top 10 of the fall festival so far, and the scores are using an average of the Rotten Tomatoes average score, the Metacritic score, and the Letterboxd score. The Golden Lion frontrunner race, as is looking right now for the Venice Film Festival, using the same formula for the rankings, as well as our current Best Picture predictions. We'll talk about Maestro and Nyad in just a second, but first I just want to briefly touch on Rustin and The Holdovers. We did actually get Rotten Tomatoes scores for them. So first up here, we have Rustin, and you see it's got a 100. Again, lots and lots of praise for Colin Domingo, and it seems like people are genuinely really liking the film. I know people are saying like, oh, maybe this is just Till again. And, people are saying like the performance is good, but then the film doesn't end up happening. It doesn't seem like that's the case. Like, yes, it's 100 and that can be misleading. The average, though, is an 8.9. It's only 6 reviews. So how much do we want to read into this? I don't know. Probably not too much, but I haven't really seen a negative word said about this film. Everybody seems to be really positive. I've seen especially a lot of people calling it George Siegel's best. We'll see. We'll see. It's making me a bit more excited about the film. I was a bit tentative after the trailer, which just looked like the most bland type of Netflix Oscar baity biopic thing. But I don't know. A lot of critics genuinely seem to be kind of taking to this. We still don't have a Metacritic score. I still don't have anything on Letterboxd yet, but very, very interesting to see this getting a bit more positive reception. We also got The Holdovers. Everybody seemed to be really into this. This also was 100. Again, only 7 reviews, still no Metacritic yet. This has an 8.2. It seems to be incredibly crowd pleasing, though. As we heard yesterday, I mean, people are calling it a return to form for Pain. We'll see how much of the controversy actually comes up with Pain. But as of now, it seems to be smooth sailing for him. And the performances are all getting really highly praised. This is interesting. This is another one where the trailer really didn't get me that excited. But even if this film isn't for me, I could see a lot of people really connecting with it. As far as awards go, people are already starting to compare it to Coda and Green Book, which we'll see. I don't know if it will like win Best Picture or anything like that. But this is an interesting one. I really like Simon Payne's work. Some of his other stuff doesn't entirely hit for me, but if it is going to be a type of thing that is just really, really generally appealing, that a lot of people are just going to broadly enjoy, and it gets enough just general passion, I could see a path for this to potentially end up making an awards run down the line. I think it's quite obvious that it's going to be getting nominations fairly across the board. As far as wins, we'll see. This is definitely making a case for itself in screenplay. Again, got to see a lot more reactions. I'm really curious to see what people say at TIFF. But as just kind of a smaller start for the film coming out of Telluride, it looks promising. Okay, let's get into Maestro. This is better than I was expecting. This is a lot better than I was expecting. An 82 on Metacritic, 14 positive, 1 mixed. The Rotten Tomatoes is a 95 out of 20 reviews. So 19 positive, 1 negative, an 8.1 average, which is pretty strong if you were just looking at top critics. It's an 8.7 average. Really, really strong across the board. Now, the Letterboxd is interesting. The Letterboxd is only a 3.3. So that seems to be a bit more mixed, which I wasn't necessarily expecting, though this does kind of reflect the disparity between like Letterboxd and critics on A Star is Born, Bradley Cooper's previous film. So maybe we are seeing similar to that with his follow-up. Again, take all these with a grain of salt. This is very, very early. We only have 15 critic reviews here, 20 on Rotten Tomatoes. So not a lot to go off of, but people are really, really praising the performances, saying that they really, really work. And that is all a film like this needs. A big, grandiose biopic. If it's getting the two leads, like nailing their roles, and people are saying that Cooper and Mulligan have a lot of chemistry with each other. Their scenes really work. That the first half of the film is a bit more of Cooper's, and then the second half, Mulligan maybe steals the show. Which again is interesting because Carey Mulligan did receive top billing for this film. The criticisms I've seen are mainly of the screenplay. and people saying that it's still a bit all over the place out of like early test screening reactions, which you never can take too seriously. But that's kind of what we heard there. And I'm hearing similar complaints kind of running through, but it seems like a lot of the problems that we heard from those first screenings have been minimized just based off of these first reactions. And yeah, I don't know. People seem to be taking very, very positively. The cinematography is getting really, really highlighted from Matthew Libatique. The makeup and hair, obviously. I'm getting more and more excited for this. Like a Star is Born wasn't necessarily for me. I'm always, again, biopics are weird with me because like the cradle to grave stuff doesn't typically work. I find a lot of those types of biopics very, very tired and very like derivative. But when the films don't feel the need to just tell you their Wikipedia biography and actually take the time to fully explore the mental scape of the protagonist, of the subject of the biopic, and really express their mental state through film form. And whether when it chooses to conform or break from it, I think that those are when biopics can be really, really fascinating. And I don't think that Maestro will necessarily be that, but it also doesn't seem like it is just going to be a straight up, very dull cradle to grave type of story. Which does get me a bit more excited. I have seen some people, criticizing the casting of Carey Mulligan. We'll see how that goes. We'll see if there's any sort of makeup controversy, if that resurfaces. We all remember the nose thing when the trailer dropped. But yeah, lots and lots of really, really positive words, especially towards Mulligan. I have seen seen some people say that the film's thunder was stolen a bit by a film like Tar, which it's always rough when you have a massive film like Tar, which is a major Oscars contender, come out and do maybe something similarly and maybe a bit better. I haven't seen this film, but I absolutely adore Tar, and I assume that I'll probably like Tar more than this. But you never know. I think that we could maybe see Priscilla suffer from something similar since people have just seen Elvis, and seen a different side of the story. Maybe people just already are going to have these set expectations in their mind, and it lessens their view of the film. It's always possible. You try to judge a film as objectively as you can, but films are made in a vacuum. So I don't know. I'm getting more and more excited about this. From an awards perspective, I still feel fine saying Carey Mulligan's going to win. I know a lot of people after the Poor Things thing, they're immediately going, "Oh, Emma Stone, Emma Stone." I think that she can definitely be nominated. I think that she's going to be very, very strong. I'm very excited for her performance. But I don't know. I still think that this is winning makeup, and with both Bradley Cooper and Emma Stone looking to both be top contenders for the wins in their respective categories, it would be weird if the film wins makeup and neither of them end up winning. And I'm still sticking with Killian, an actor. And even though the logic is very weird and convoluted, I'm going for Carey, an actress. I feel like it makes sense. She's top billing. People are saying that she's a scene stealer. I think it's possible. So that's where I'm at right now. I do think that this will probably end up being Netflix's top priority. We saw really good reviews for Rustin. We saw May December good reviews, but this is always going to be the most Oscar friendly and Oscar baity type of film. And people are saying like, oh, but what if this is just being the Ricardos or Eyes of Tammy Faye or The Whale or something like that? Those films did not get an 82 on Metacritic. And yes, these can drop, but not even coming out of festivals did those films get this high on Metacritic. This is really, really good for Maestro, and I'm getting more excited for it. Okay, now let's take a look at Nyad. So, been a lot of talk about this one. We see reviews on Letterboxd here. We don't have a Rotten Tomatoes score yet. There are 4 in. Worth noting, all 4 are positive. But we still don't have like an average critic score or anything like that. Nothing on Metacritic yet. Not a lot to go off of. The film just premiered last night. I would expect more sort of consensus reviews and stuff from sites by now, but we don't have anything. So we can go off of this Letterboxd rating curve, which again, it's Letterboxd. Read into it as much as you will. Seems mixed. I've read a lot of reactions, reviews, etc. People are calling this a crowd pleaser. People are saying that it works really, really well as a crowd pleaser. People are saying that it's like a fun, inspirational sports drama that will, get you, tear jerk at the end. But I have seen quite a lot of negatives be drawn to the film, particularly in its screenplay. If you've seen the clip, go look at it because it is not good. The dialogue looks abysmal, and the only things that I'm really seeing highlighted are Annette Bening and Jodie Foster. And I don't know what else we were expecting. It really just seemed like a star vehicle for them the whole time. And I don't know. This film doesn't look good. And I think it is also worth noting, and you've seen this if you've seen my tweets or anything like that. But some of this film just feels like a little bit gross the more I read about Diane and Nyad. Um, First of all, she, may or may not have embellished her swim, which, whatever, sure, that's, not great. But then the other thing is that she has been very actively transphobic and tried to keep, trans women from swimming in, women's swimming. And it feels a bit gross in a time where trans people, particularly, trans athletes, and it being very, very oppressed. And there's a lot of vitriol and hatred being thrown at them right now, to then make a inspirational biopic celebrating the life and accomplishments of a woman who is still, even like this year, actively speaking out against trans women competing in sports, and still being very actively transphobic. It feels weird. It feels gross. Obviously, that has nothing to do with how well made the film is or anything like that. But I don't know. The film just gives me a bit of a nick now, and there's nothing I can do. I don't know. I mean, this is the narrative debut of two documentary filmmakers who did Free Solo and The Rescue, which are two pretty solid documentaries. So I guess props to them for at least making the crowd pleasing nature of the film land. But it really doesn't seem like it's that special of a film, overall, based off of the kind of tepid reactions that I've been seeing. Looking at it from an awards perspective, I like maybe Annette Bening can happen. I know some people are really high on Jodie Foster. I don't necessarily see where she fits into that category, and she doesn't have a narrative like Annette Bening does. So maybe Annette Bening if the narrative sticks and Netflix is really able to campaign this. But I don't even think that this will be in Netflix's top 3 of priorities. I think they're going to have Maestro, May December, and Rustin all prioritized above this, just based off of the reactions and what they've been throwing the most press behind so far. So I really don't think that this is a thing. And even if it does start to become a thing, the transphobia is going to come up, and the potential lying is going to come up, and I don't know how much the campaign will survive. And like, obviously, so much controversy around Blonde last year, and Anna de Armas still got in. So maybe Netflix is still able to make it happen. But I haven't seen the film yet, but just everything surrounding it, particularly in regards to the subject, just feels a bit off. And I'm not saying that you can't make a biopic about a not great person. I think that some of the best biopics are made about people who aren't necessarily great. But if you're just ignoring the negative aspects of them and just fully celebrating them, I don't know. Again, haven't seen the film, so I can't necessarily make a full judgment on it. But just based off of what I've heard and read, those are my thoughts on it, at least for now. But that is it as far as things that came out at Venice and Telluride. Obviously, there were a couple of other things, but those were the big. So make sure you come back tomorrow, because we are going to have plenty more to discuss, with more premieres coming out of Venice, more reviews and reactions coming out of Telluride. Maybe we start to get some more critic scores for films out of that festival. And then we just have to wait a couple days more before TIFF starts, and we get Venice Awards, and a lot more exciting things start happening at Fall Festival. So make sure you stick around for that. You can support the SAG and WJ strikes in the description. And until next time, stay safe, everybody, and goodbye.